What was it like when they started criminalizing marijuana and stuff like that?
When we had left,
Oh yeah.
yeah, we bragged when we came home that they criminalized it because of us.
But before then, it was still illegal in Denmark, right?
Yes, yes.
It's never been legal.
No,
Okay.
definitely. And in Iran, they had a death penalty for
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. For marijuana.
yeah, for hashish at
For
least.
hashish.
Yeah, and they were rather. I mean, if some of us get caught, would get caught, you know, maybe they wouldn't execute us because we were foreigners, but 30 years in prison in Iran, it's not very funny. No.
For foreigners as well.
I think so. Yeah.
And it falls in the hippie trail, right? Iran
Yeah.
falls in the hippie trail. So how would you travel with hashish or stuff like that?
We didn't.
We didn't. You didn't.
No. We absolutely.
But I'm pretty sure there were people who would take that risk.
Sure, there were people who were smuggling. You know, was. We met. At the border between Afghanistan and Iran. They had this kind of room with a window, and there were sitting 3 young hippies from the West.
Okay.
And they
were caught?
They were caught.
Okay.
And they claimed they had some hashish, and the two of them they were in bad troubles because they couldn't deny it. The third said that he was a hitchhiker they had picked up on the road.
Was he really a hitchhiker or just trying to get back?
He said it to us also. We were allowed to speak to them, and they
Okay.
were scared. They were really, really scared.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be in a foreign land for 30 years.
No.
That's half of your life. What do you think about? So you've had your fair share of experience with marijuana.
I think
hashish,
so, yeah.
And then you quit. Recently, there's been debate even in Nepal. Should we legalize it or not? What's your take on that? Thailand legalized it. There are certain countries that legalized it, right? But then it's still an ongoing debate because there are pros to it, there are cons to it. What's your take on that?
Well, we have the same debate in Denmark, and I think that you could just as well do it because it's so easy to get it. But to get it now involves a lot of crime, a lot of gang crime that we probably could get rid of. And I don't think that the use would incline. If
Or maybe for a brief period of
maybe
time.
for a brief
because people
period,
would want to
yeah.
try it if it's when it's
But
legal.
then again, and also you would be able to control it, the
Oh, yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
much better.
True.
So I think at least for a period you should try to legalize it and see what happens then. I think the big problem now that's the hard drugs, you know, and which of course shouldn't be legalized.
But I mean, like, even with hard drugs, that's the same debate people go after. When you're buying it from the underground or a secondary market, you are pretty much funding these criminal groups, right? So it's the same with marijuana. The problem, my major concern with legalizing marijuana, if it happens in Nepal, is there needs to, of course, they'll come up with some laws and policies, but then there needs to be a proper investigation or a check to see if those are being followed or not.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem. Even with alcohol or smoking, there are laws. But then are they being strictly followed? No, definitely not. Yeah. So that's where the problem lies.
Yeah. And in fact, I see in Denmark, I see alcohol as a much bigger problem.
Oh, yeah.
That has, because, you know, the young people, they start drinking, and they are drinking heavily when they are 14.
True. Also, the way alcohol is easily accepted in society, people think of it as just any other drink.
Yeah. Luckily, it looks like my children, who are now 37 and 33, no, 36 and 33, seems to have a very balanced relation to alcohol. But now they have small children, but which they didn't have when they were teenagers.
I think that's the case for everybody, even if it's like marijuana or alcohol. There are people who experience that when they are in their teenage years. They want to rebel, they want to try out new things, and it's kind of becomes a medium for them, for people to be associated with a kind of image. But once you've had enough of it, there are people who get stuck with it throughout their whole life, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
But most of the people, they come out of it after a certain age. Yeah. I used to drink quite a lot, but then it's been a couple of years that I've completely stopped drinking.
Yeah.
Because I've had one bad experience, and I was like, no, I don't want to experience that ever again. And I'm in my early 30s, and it's not the same when you're in 30s the way you feel in your 20s. Your body can only take so much and recover from.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that's not for me.
Yeah, that's so. So, I still drink, but I take it easy.
Yeah, that's how it should be. I mean, like for occasionally, it's fine. But for me, the way alcohol and my relationship with alcohol was like pretty much every single night before. If I'm sitting to work, I'll have a drink. And like every single night was me drinking, and then one day I actually did a podcast here.
Yeah.
It was on whiskeys, so we had a bunch of whiskeys, and I was like tasting a lot of it, right? So the mix of all these drinks and the quantity and stuff like that. So we wrapped it up at probably at around 8:30 or something like that, and I was in that couch, throwing up till midnight or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. I don't want to feel like this ever again. So luckily I had my assistant who drove me home. And it wasn't until 2 or 3 in the morning that I started feeling a little bit better. I was in my bed with a plastic bag in one hand, So that whole experience for me was like, I think that's what you felt about marijuana as well. That's why you quit.
Yeah.
And it just like everything accumulates and you're questioning your life decisions and choices. And I was like, okay.
In fact, it lasted a pretty long time, this bad experience. It lasted several weeks, and when I got over it, it was very, very slowly, and I had some therapy and things like that. Yeah, so it was really bad.
How did you notice that you were experiencing decline in your brain function, cognitive function?
I didn't really see it that way, but the realization of that I could feel so bad, with the anxiety and that was shocking, simply shocking.
Yeah, it's just a compound or just stuff that's not for everybody. No, there are so many people who do fine with it.
Yeah.
And there are people, you just smoke once and then, you just want to get out of it. You kind of, it's just not for you.
And also, I decided very early, that I would never do anything else. I would never try heroin or LSD or
the more hardcore ones.
Yeah, I never did. And I saw, among my friends, some of them, they started to be junkies, and I know 2 of them, they died from it, and the third probably he also did. So, yeah, that was scary.
Have you tried mushrooms?
No.
No, you haven't. You've heard stories about it.
I've heard a lot of stories about it, and now they are beginning to write seriously that they should start using it in treatment
Oh, yeah.
of different mental diseases.
True. It's the same. That's the same argument for marijuana as well. That's the same argument with psilocybin or mushrooms.
Yeah.
But what I think is, I mean, like the argument for legalizing marijuana or mushroom is like it's being used in medical settings, or it has medical benefits. But then that's medicine. I mean, you have to treat it that way for certain conditions, if that's your argument, because everything has pros and cons. There's a right way to do it, or there's a right dosage and things like that. And then when you're smoking marijuana or you're high on mushroom, you're not looking at the dosage and stuff like that, right? Did you hear about this news? The guy from Friends, the series, that died a couple months or a year ago.
From what?
The series Friends. Matthew Perry.
Oh yeah. Now I know. Yeah.
So there's this news going around. Do you know what happened to him?
I just know that he
He was in the sauna and he was found dead.
Yeah, and now his some of his friends or his doctor has been accused of giving him this stuff,
Ketamine.
ketamine.
It was ketamine.
Ketamine. Yeah.
Which is also a drug that's used for treating depression and anxiety and stuff like that. So from what I heard, the doctor is going to jail for like 10 years because he's cooperating with the police. So, I mean, like, there's a place for everything under certain conditions and things like that. But then, I don't know. I mean, like, it can get in wrong hands as well.
Sure.